Welcome everyone. This is episode 42 of the Contextual Podcast. I am live, back on my own again this week. Apologies. I've got PUBG Hype Zone sort of running there, if I can get my finger right there. Yes, this week I've wanted to do a bit of a review of a couple of things this week. Bit of gaming news. I'm going to go straight into UFC 223 and WrestleMania. I'll do WrestleMania first, and I'll talk about the UFC. Game-wise, just usual stuff. There's been a patch today for PUBG. Back on that. I've been playing a bit of Fortnite with the family. I think everyone's playing Fortnite at the moment. Waiting for E3 news. There's a big event tonight. Xbox. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Cheers, NHIC. I don't try and suck them usually, but I appreciate the fact that you're watching. So tonight there's a Xbox event with inside Xbox. There's going to be a lot of stuff on the backwards compatibility to do with Xbox Live and the original Xbox. Yes, Chewy, good man. I said I was podcasting. So there's going to be an event tonight. So that's, I think UK time, it's around about 10:30 or 11:30, depending on where you are time-wise. So I was going to actually do a live stream and reactions to it, see what the events are. Just sort of get us warmed up for E3, but it's too early for me with work. So we'll keep it on the low down. So a bit of gaming news to start with, just a couple of little things. Player Unknown, PUBG, they've decided to take down all these sort of iOS and Android clones of the game. There's some that are absolute rip-offs. I played the proper one on the Chinese iOS App Store. Good game, but again, I just prefer Control Pad. And then they've got after a couple of that really are bad clones, but they're after a lot of money. So I think it's just more a case of cease and desist, get rid of them. So they're going from there. Fortnite's gone from strength to strength. So I know Boss Key Studios, which is Cliffy B, who's one of the original creators of Gears of War, they brought Lawbreakers out a few months ago, but it just sort of died on its feet. The online numbers are terrible. And they're now decided to bring out a 1980s-inspired Battle Royale, which pretty much everyone's going to be doing Battle Royales from now on. So, I think everywhere you go, I wouldn't be surprised if COD and people like that try some sort of version. I think personally Battlefield is ideally suited for a Battle Royale mode, but how they're going to do it, I do not know. I know in PUBG there's been a couple of new game modes as well on the PC that they're actually events and that they're trying out to see if it works, gains a bit of traction. It needs a bit more. I know May, they said that there's a new map. Is it Miramax is coming on Xbox? So we're just waiting on that to see what it's like. I know a lot of people who've played it say it's pretty poor because it's quite open, the map. I've never played it on PC because I haven't got a gaming PC, so we'll see on that. So yeah, gaming-wise, that's about it. I'm hoping to have a round circle chat about Pro Evolution Soccer. Anyone who's into the footy stuff knows that Contextual Podcast was created because of the Pro Evo. We're on episode 42 now. We're diversifying on guests and different things. But around as it comes up to E3, as I said last week, I've already spoke to Brian, the good old Brian from Pennsylvania. He's coming on, B-Man. I've got Pez Monkey, and I'm hoping to have Alan on from WEMB boards or Win 11 blog forums, or boards as it's called. Please, bear with us. I was hoping to have it on some Sunday gone, but schedules have sort of dictated we can't. But like I said, I wanted an open sort of forum for people to come on and chat, and people who like the game, because obviously we come on, me and Steve own that, and we've absolutely slated it at times, and I don't want to keep going on. We want to see where we can improve it now. I think it's gone to the point now where I can't slate and slag the fucker off anymore. It's just got to the point where I just want it improved. I want Konami to take notice. And if they're not going to take notice of me, which they probably won't because I'm a nobody, they'll at least take notice of some of these guys who've got links directly to Konami. So I'm hoping to have various different people from the PES community on, and even the FIFA community, to talk about the game. I think one of the streamers with Konami, Ed Sutton, is a good friend of mine through social media and supports the podcast, and he has done from the start, which is great. He's going to come on and talk about different things. I know he's having a few issues at the moment with his streaming side and affiliation, so we'll sort of chew his brain on that. Not necessarily throw Konami under the bus, it's just to find out what's going on and what he thinks and what he wants improved on the game. And there's a couple of other people I've been speaking to on social media. I'm not hunting out the people that are negative around the game, but just to find out what they expect with 2019, and the demo's coming out, so we'll see. So let's just flick over to this. One of the things I want to talk about was WrestleMania, because gaming, I think that's it for this week. As I say, it's the slow season for all those gamers. It's just getting your head down and playing your back catalogue at the moment until we get some E3 snippets. I'm interested to say that later on, the Xbox stuff, so stick around on that. Regarding sort of WrestleMania, I'll give results on a couple of the things if you've not seen. So spoilers, anyone who's listening who's not watched it. I don't really watch it now. Like I say, I always say Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, they're the only two things that I actually watch now as a fan. And even then, it's more for the surprise, old school people coming back. So I just want to sort of get that out of the way. But yeah, the first thing that happened WrestleMania is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle. Various different people coming out. I mean, a battle royale I'm not a big fan of, because it's just basically everyone starts in the ring and they just start lobbing people over the top, and you just get all the generic ones who are there for literally seconds. But Matt Hardy won that, which was a bit strange because he's been fighting against Bray Wyatt for weeks, this elite character that he brought from TNA. And he's gone against Bray, and now they seem to be together as a team. And I know, reading the stuff on Raw last night, they've actually teamed up again in a tag match against Titus O'Neil. So, a bit strange. And I think it's Apollo Crews. But yeah, so he wins that. Next one's the Cruiserweight title, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali. I mean, I'm reading this on a website called Raja.com, anyone out there. So I'm not cheating. I have skated through some of the matches. I watched the main ones. And what's that one? Oh, the winner is Cedric Alexander. He won it, actually. He won the title, new Cruiserweight champ. I'm not really bothered about that, if I'm being honest. I don't know if he's from NXT, this guy. But again, because my sort of knowledge isn't down there like it used to be. Old school stuff, I'm as good as anyone when it comes to old school wrestling with knowledge and questions, usually. Especially with WWE, WWF. The old WCW and that, yeah, I'm all right, but not great, but I know bits and stuff. But WWE, WWF, I'm pretty good on. Next one after that was the Women's Royal Rumble. Now the women's stuff at the Battle Royale, women's Battle Royal. At the Royal Rumble, it was all a big thing about helping the women and that. And I think at some point they will have a women's only event, which they quite rightly should. But again, they've started to just push them back up the card, which I know there was a lot of big matches for WrestleMania. It always isn't. It's a long event, but it's got to keep being consistent, and it's a big push by Triple H and Stephanie. And I know one of the best matches at WrestleMania is coming later on, which I actually really enjoyed. I've not sat there and actually watched the match for a long time, wrestling wise. So I'll get to that soon. But yeah, so the Battle Royale was won by Naomi, who I like, because we watched the Total Divas. I know it's all set up and cheesy, but it is good fun when you watch it. So I watched that quite a lot with the Bella Twins and stuff. There's not wrong with the Bella Twins, as you say. What have we got from there? Oh, there's a load of other. They have a lot of stuff. There's a lot of Hulk Hogan stuff, actually, like WrestleMania moments when the WrestleMania, and that to me says it's starting to fall out. I mean, he's never going to ever be any. I might have a gaming tag of Hulkamania, but there's never going to be any justification for what the Hulk said, no matter in what context. I mean, I've got mixed race nephews and nieces, so I would never, I've never brought up like that anyway, coming from Old Trafford and that, such diverse range of people from all over the world, and origins in different countries and that. The colour of your skin should never even be an issue, and that's why I've always been brought up, which is great. That's how it should be. Unfortunately, some people don't see it like that, so I'll never condone the Hulk for what he did. But they are starting to fall on this. There was question marks where Hulk was saying he's going to try, and I think they're trying to get into some sort of rehab thing to bring him back in, like where he went wrong. He's going to have to make a massive apology for what he's done. Whether people agree with it, is it a PR stunt? I don't know. As a Hogan fan from being a kid, I think he deserves to be back, but I also think in this day and age, you just can't say stuff. Well, you can't say stuff like that, full stop. But it's on film. It's been done. I know he sued that website for what they did and stuff, and then there's sort of sex tape and that. But I think it's gone far enough. So yeah, so there's a lot of Hogan stuff there, which is good as a Hogan fan. But I like to sort of remember him as he was. Now he's in his 60s. There's no way he's going to get another run. If he does, it'll be ridiculous because he can hardly move. He couldn't move last time. Yeah, next match this was a good match actually. Intercontinental match: Seth Rollins, The Miz, and Finn Balor. Finn Balor's the Irish guy. He's a Newcastle fan. He's come from NXT. He has this sort of demon character he brings out as well. I like Seth Rollins. He's a big CrossFit fan, and he obviously is part of the Shield, which, you know, like I say, he's not a real big watcher of it. These are the old, very much a throwback, the Shield, to the old school sort of wrestling. So yeah, and that was a good match, back and forth. There's loads of saves, high risk moves, spots, everything like that. And then Seth Rollins ended up winning, and he was the new champ. And he took the belt off The Miz, I think he was the champ at the time. So he's good. I like The Miz. He's a good heel. He's a good baddie, or a heel if you're into the wrestling. He plays it really well. So we'll just have to see what happens from there. I mean, they don't really hype up the Intercontinental title like it used to be. It was always like the precursor to someone going on a title run for the heavyweight thing. They do the Intercontinental, and then they'd be either unanimous. They drop the title, then push for the heavyweight, or there'd be a unification fight with the heavyweight champ, a la WrestleMania 6, Warrior Hogan, you know, stuff like that. So we'll see on that. Then we get a lot of stuff for this. This thing's not sat well with me, the whole build up to WrestleMania with John Cena and The Undertaker. You know, The Undertaker puts his hat and sort of his hat and gloves and everything in the ring last year, as if to say, right in the middle, as if to say, right, I'm retired, game over. And it's gone. It's one of these where John Cena all of a sudden has just started calling him out, obviously for a match. You know, I mean, I like Cena. I like Cena a lot, actually. I think he's not as a wrestler, because we've seen and done it. He's not got a great load of moves, but I do like the idea of what he stood for, the longevity of him being a wrestling fan for 15 years. A wrestling fan, as a wrestler for 15 years and being at the top, which is good. But now he's going into TV and more mainstream stuff. He hasn't really got the time or the thing to do it full time. Probably his body can't take it as well, the amount of bumps and injuries he's had. So, but yeah, so we have this segment where he's supposedly sat in the crowd and he's waiting for a match, you know, against The Undertaker. He hasn't got a match, and he wasn't really well executed. From the clips I've seen on YouTube and stuff, and Raw over the last few weeks on and off, it's just pretty poor. You knew something's going to happen, and it does later on. Next match was Randy Orton, Bobby Roode, Rusev, Jinder Mahal. Again, I like Randy Orton. He's obviously old school wrestler, really, even in his style now. You know, the RKO never gets old, which is great. But the winner was that Jinder Mahal again, who obviously he's the US champ. I think he was anyway. So he dropped the belt and he's brought it back. Because I know the thing is, they've got a big following now in the Asian market, over in India and that. So they're putting the strap on him because of the fans, and that's fine. You know, it's a good PR stunt. He's a good wrestler, but I just think he's got no charisma when he's talking. It just gets a bit boring when you're watching him. He's got a, you know, top physique and that, you can see that, but it's just not my thing. Now the next match was an absolute, I've got to say, this was the best match of WrestleMania. This was Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, obviously husband and wife, against Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey. Now obviously Ronda Rousey, first event, she's not been great on the mic, but she's an athlete. She's a premium athlete. She was a judo bronze medalist at the Olympics. She's world level in judo, UFC women's champ, Strike Force champ. You know, so she ain't no slouch. I know the last two fights she had were pretty poor, against Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes, but and she went all mean and moody about it. I won't talk about it because of how she lost. But I tell you what, if you have anyone who's used to watch wrestling and he's back into, I mean, Kurt Angle isn't the same wrestler he was, you know, all them years ago, but he can still do a job. He's still in good shape. Triple H's in great shape. There's no way they're on the wellness policy, either of them. I'm sorry. No way, the best will in the world. That ain't happening. But great fight. Even Stephanie was doing bits, but Ronda was brilliant. I mean, I think they'll improve her mic skills in that coming time, but her actual athleticism. I mean, she had Triple H on her shoulders and everything, lifting him up from the floor and all that. You know, so the girl's strong, and you can tell that she's an athlete. So that, honestly, it's a great match. That I'd definitely get on it if you get a chance. You know, watch it. It'll be on YouTube, I pretty much presume, or you can try the WWE Network for a month before you have to pay for it. So yeah, that's a definite old school match, and I think Ronda's going to be really good. She's quite surprised me, to be honest, because I didn't think she'd be able to do it. But I'll tell you what, she's doing the business in that match. That's a great match. And Kurt Angle and Ronda won that match. Obviously, the next one, I don't know. The New Day, the Usos with the New Day, with the Bludgeon Brothers. The Bludgeon Brothers are the Wyatt family, basically, repackaged. It's the same guys who were in the Wyatt family, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. The two big guys. Anyway, they ended up winning it. I didn't really care much for this match, to be honest. The New Day pissed me off. Oh, hi, Brad. Yeah, I know you sent me a message on Xbox Live for Party Chat, but unfortunately, I am at the moment just doing my podcast, which I'm probably about halfway through. My team, unfortunately, are not playing in Europe this evening. We're still celebrating our derby win at the weekend against Manchester City, because we've obviously softened them up for you after that tremendous comeback, and we will be talking about the football later. But we're not actually playing. Now, obviously, I would pretty much enjoy that match because you'll beat City and then you're getting absolutely dicked in the next round. Absolutely dicked. It don't matter who you play, whether it's Bayern, Real. And I hope it's Real and I hope Ronnie comes to Anfield. They'll all be there singing, walk on, hands in the air, all this stuff, you know, like they do. Let's create an atmosphere. Jurgen Klopp will have his teeth all shined up and polished. And he's going to come and just take fucking names and take his apart. So there's your answer, pal. Anyway, I'm waiting for the reply now. So anyway, back to the wrestling. So the next match was this weird John Cena, and it ended up obviously being the Undertaker fight. Absolute nonsense. You know, he gets called up. So it's in the ring, he gets called up, he thinks it's all over, and then we get this Elias guy who plays the guitar very much like The Rock used to do, very much like a blues guy. He looks a bit like some hipster, really. No, I think it's 7:15 you're on, Brad, not 7:45, sorry, not 5 o'clock, mate. Yeah, look, you remember this guy from 1996, can you see that? The king, there he is, there he is. Yeah, 96 final, I remember that well. Davy James didn't have a chance. Anyway, so it's the Undertaker v John Cena. We get this thing where Elias comes down, Cena does a few moves, takes him out, he's going up to the ramp, and the next minute the lights go on, classic Undertaker, and then his hat and gloves are in the ring from last year, supposedly. We get the lightning bolt, and everything goes off, and then next minute the Undertaker's there coming out to the ring, and we are away. A pretty quick match. I mean, to be honest, Undertaker just took him apart, really, which is a bit of a waste for Cena, because I think he deserves a lot more credit, but he's happy to sort of toe the company line now. And yeah, Undertaker became victorious. What that means, I don't know, whether it's just the usual yearly Undertaker match, I'm not sure. Next one's probably the second best match on the card, which I watched this morning, actually, funny enough, because I've not seen it properly. It was Shane McMahon and the return of Daniel Bryan after his concussion stuff against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Now, this was a good match. I mean, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens know Daniel Bryan from when his real name's Bryan Danielson, but they call him Daniel Bryan for something in WWE. But he's basically a top wrestler, Daniel Bryan, and it's great. And the crowd are all with this Yes movement that came out a few years ago. It was all over America, baseball, schools, everything. It was all over the world, to be honest. And he's come back and he had a great reception. That was a good match. If you get that chance, there's only a couple of matches I'd say watch, because some of it was poor. These are the only two standout things. But definitely get on it if you can. Wrestling's on the side. That's what Brad's saying. Wrestling's got worse over the years. It's worse than EastEnders. Yeah, you're right, mate. I tell you what, the wrestling is poor now because it's PG and it's all about sponsorship deals and that. There's no Stone Cold coming out and taking names. There's no swearing. There's no, these feel a lot of puppy power. Jerry the King Lord, he still love the women, the divas as they're called now. Everything was a bit more realistic. We all know it was set up, but it was more believable characters. Now it's just fake as anything, and that's why I don't watch it. That's why I don't watch a lot of it. I love the old school stuff, and I know me and Steve-O said it, but now it is like that. It's all run by Triple H and Stephanie, and Vince is there in the background, but they have pretty much control over everything. So it's all about having Ronda Rousey there as one of the best things they could have ever had for sponsors and stuff. She's got a few films coming out that she did when she was in the UFC. So I think she's doing. I absolutely love Roadhouse. Absolutely love Patrick Swayze Roadhouse from the 80s, like 88 or 89, and she's in the new one, a remake. But it's not been released yet because when they were going to bring it out was when she got beat in the UFC. So I think now that a star power's coming back and she's this sort of Roddy Piper disciple, I think you'll see that released. So she did a few off the back of the UFC. So we'll see. But I agree, mate. Totally agree. I'm doing the review more from an old school fan because I like the returns, but I totally agree with you. It's poor now. So anyway, Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, great fight. Backwards and forth. Shane's always got this over the top rope stuff. The only thing I'm a bit worried about Shane McMahon is he looks red as anything. I think he's taking too much growth hormone on steroids. He's looking in good shape, but his head looks like it's going to explode, which to me says his blood pressure's too high and he's taking too much shit because I could be wrong. He looks really, really tired. It looks like what happened to Eddie Guerrero and stuff where they look like they're going to have a heart attack because they're taking that much gear. I might be wrong, but it looks that way. But that was a great match, and Daniel Bryan won. He gets the yes movement a few times, goes over and kisses his Mrs. Brie. Everyone goes home happy. Now from here, it just became an absolute shit show, basically, as far as I was concerned. Nia Jax was again. Alexa Bliss was the champ. She's tiny, little blonde girl. Nia Jax is The Rock's cousin. She's a big girl, big, strong. She's about 6 foot. It just didn't make any sense. And she wins anyway, Nia Jax, but I just really couldn't care less, to be honest. Not because it was the women, it was just poor. She was so big and a mismatch. It's hard for Nia Jax because there isn't a lot of bigger women. So it's like one of these where she needs someone of her size and stature to make it more believable. At the moment, she's losing to people because she has to, and in reality, she probably wouldn't because of the size of her. So it's just a shame, really. I think hopefully they're going to make her this big monster now where she goes on a run, but I don't know. She's tried the Rock PR stuff in the background because he's a cousin, but it's not really worked so far for her. AJ Styles wasn't a bad match against Shinsuke Nakamura. AJ won and kept his title. Shinsuke was the one who won the Royal Rumble, which was quite surprising, but I'm not too convinced by his character. I know a lot of the independent wrestling fans and I absolutely love him and over in Japan and that, but I don't know. He just doesn't sound, like I said, I don't watch enough of it now to give a proper opinion, but it just doesn't settle with me. Then we had this ridiculous thing where there's a tag team title match, Sheamus and Cesaro, who were the champs, against Braun Strowman and a partner. Well, Braun Strowman now decides to go in the crowd and pick out some kid who's actually the son of one of the referees, who's supposedly a random. That's terrible doing that, but yeah, a random fan when he wasn't. He was actually the referee's son, and then the son's about 11 or 12, and they win the title, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it doesn't make any sense. That was a terrible squash match in the end, and I just give up for Lent or the rest of the year because it was just awful. Now the next match got so much. This is the main event of everything. Was Brock Lesnar v Braun Strowman. Now Brock Lesnar's been threatening that he's going back to the UFC. Now I don't know if he's going to do a deal. He's been saying for weeks, Dana White's been saying, the president of the UFC, that he's going to go back. But I don't know whether he believes it. I don't know what's going on, whether he's played the UFC. But basically, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns was just Brock Lesnar absolutely destroying Roman Reigns for the whole match. And everyone was booing. Everyone was actually shouting, "This is awful," in the crowd. Which is a shame, really, because Brock Lesnar's gone for the monster, which he is. But it's all the same stuff. And a lot of the true wrestling fans are not happy because he's on they don't like Roman Reigns either. They absolutely hate Roman Reigns. If they had to choose the two with Brock Lesnar, everyone would, but it's become apparent because he's sort of a temporary part-time wrestler and he's still holding the belt, which he's held for ages now. It must be a long time he's held that belt. It just doesn't settle well. So they were saying this is awful. Everyone was kicking off at the end, and it really was poor. All it was Brock Lesnar doing suplexes and throwing him. He got a couple of attacks in Roman Reigns, but it was just awful. When he went off, it was absolute garbage. But what I was getting to was Lesnar had some big bust up with McMahon, but then he's come out and actually signed a new deal with the WWE, which is just weird because Dana White's definitely coming back to the UFC now, and obviously he's got a drugs ban. So how he's going to think of that with USADA, I do not know, because he's banned. He was banned with John Jones after UFC 200 when he faced Mark Hunt and beat him. He was in all sorts of stuff in his body. So I'm not too sure. But he signed with WWE again, so he's on another contract. So whether that's going to be the contract like he did last time when they allow him to go and fight in the UFC, I'm not sure. It could be. I just don't know how it's going to work. And that was it really for WrestleMania. It was just average, really. There wasn't a lot of surprises. Like I say, a couple of standout matches. Ronda Rousey's was the best match with Kurt Angle. And then you've got Daniel Bryan and Shane, as I said before, against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So, yeah. So, overall, I'd say probably a 5 out of 10. There you go. Just made that up as I was going on. 5 out of 10. And now onto the UFC, which was the one I kept promoting for a long time. I wanted to talk about my good mate, well, not my mate, Conor McGregor. Now, he goes, what this thing this week, and if you've seen it in the news, is he's got this guy, Russian partner, who he trains called Artem Lobov, and he is Russian by origin, but he's actually trained with Conor for a long time in Ireland. He's Conor's partner. He's not a great fighter, but he's actually become a cult hero online because a lot of the UFC fans like say he's the greatest ever. He's got a record of something like 15 wins and 15 losses. That's how terrible he is. But he like thinks he's big time. He's always with Conor. He's like a hanger-on. And because he's from Russia originally, he actually had this thing. This guy called Khabib was fighting this weekend originally against Tony Ferguson. Now, Khabib was 24-0, undefeated. He's an absolute animal of a wrestler. And Tony Ferguson had shades on and decides to shout a friend of his when he was at a press event. Doesn't look where he's going because he's always got sunglasses on inside. Trips up and his knee separates, ends up with a really, really bad knee injury. And I think the cartilage in that separated from the bone. So he was out. Then we get the news that Max Holloway, like Khabib and Conor are 155. Conor was the 155 champ, who's not 4. So it was supposed to be whoever wins that Khabib and Tony gets Conor's belt because he's not fought since November 2016 in the UFC because of the Floyd Mayweather fight. Then obviously Tony pulls out. Max Holloway is the 145 champ who Conor's already beaten a few years ago. He steps up. Then at the last minute gets medically declared unfit for the fight. So they look for someone else. There's a guy called Anthony Pettis who was on the card. He was supposed to fight. That doesn't happen. And then he ends up with a guy, Khabib ends up with a guy called Al Iaquinta, who's trained by Matt Serra, who's used to be the welterweight champ. And he steps in and takes over the spot. But what happened was this, what's he called? Conor's friend had actually sort of gone to a club somewhere and had a bit of a beef with Khabib and some of his followers because they're in Dagestani thing, and he slapped him. So Conor McGregor the next day doesn't tell anyone, decides he's going to jump on a plane and starts actually throwing stuff at the bus. He gets into the centre where they are in New York because he's got like the MacLife people, the people who sort of look after his products and everything. And they let him in, not knowing what he's going to do, and then decides to go after the sort of bus that's got all the fighters on and smashes a window. Well, smashes a few windows, smashes one right through. A guy called Michael Chiesa who was fighting, he ends up with cuts all over his face, so he couldn't fight, so he was out of the fight. Another guy called Ray Borg was fighting, sat next to Chiesa, he's out of the fight as well, same thing. So he's going to get sued rotten. Conor gets arrested. The videos are just ridiculous. You watch one line, he's an absolute clown. I know everyone's saying like, oh, he's sticking up for his mate, but it was just ridiculous what was going on. So he then makes an absolute mockery of himself, ruins the main event. The UFC are kicking off, saying it's a disgrace. He gets arrested. He's on 50 grand bail. It was just a mess, an absolute mess. He's very much WWE. I was waiting for Stone Cold to come out and run over the bus or something, Vince McMahon style from the late 90s. So he just ruined everything, and obviously it's the best PR job he ever did. I don't condone him cutting someone's face and all that stuff, but that'll make that fight against Khabib an absolute unbelievable PR thing. It'll sell probably just as good as the Mayweather stuff did for boxing. So Conor's a very, very clever man. It's collateral damage what he's going to do, and they don't reckon he's going to get sent down. So he'll pay the fine, a couple of lawsuits, $1 million here and there, and he'll make miles more than that. So very, very shrewd what he did. So we'll see where that one goes. But on to the main event. Because of that, Al Iaquinta has to step in. He's ranked number 11. Khabib's number 1 contender. for the title, and whoever won that wins the title. So he stepped in. So yeah, so first couple of matches, there's an old school guy called Joe Lazone who's been fighting for ages. His game is anything, good jiu-jitsu and everything. And he goes up against a guy called Chris Gritzmarker, and this Chris Gritzmarker just absolutely pummeled him. It was really bad. He had to stop him, Joe Lazone, on his stool in the second round. His face was just a mess. This Gritzmarker was just teeing off left, right, and centre. And he wins the sort of like a TKO in the second round. Steve Mazzagatti, the referee, stops it because he just couldn't continue. It was just really bad, the amount of punishment he was taking to his face. So that was the first fight on the card. Second one was a guy, he's actually from Dagestan. He's obviously something to do with Khabib in Russia. Zabit he's called. His second name's hard to pronounce, but he's called Zabit Magdamashirpirov or something. We'll call him Zabit because that's what else he's calling him. What a fighter. He fought against an American called Kyle Botniak. He was real game, but there was about a foot difference then at 145, which is Max Holloway's division, or ex-Conor McGregor's division. And he's a great fighter. I mean, hard as anything. He did seem to tire the last minute of the third round, but he went to a decision and Zabit won. And it was a great fight. Proper technical. Zabit's got all sorts. He kicks, punches, submission, everything was just on point. He's like a hybrid, which they keep saying about a lot of these wrestlers. So if you get a chance, watch that fight. Talk about technical fighter, unbelievable. There's, like they say, there is levels to this thing. Trust me, from someone who's got his face punched in a few times when I've just been practicing and get beaten by some kids sometimes. There is levels, and this guy looks like he's going to be a future champ, if I'm being honest. So we'll see. He just look like nothing. He just walked through everything. So we'll just have to see how he goes against some of the top guys. Next fight was a bit of a boring fight. There's a guy called Calvin Cato. He looks a bit like Carl Froch when in the UK. The boxer, same sort of nose, haircut and that. And I've seen him a few times. Good fighter, but he went to a decision, and he was against a Brazilian guy called Renato Maicono, who beat him, and he did beat him. It was quite convincing. It was close, but he just did a bit more, the Brazilian. His strikes were on point and stuff. And yeah, it was good. It was a good fight, technical fight. I mean, the crowd was sort of booing a bit because the fight before it, the Zabit fight, was just so intense, and a crowd please. Like the last few seconds of the Zabit fight, 15 seconds, they were just throwing haymakers. So that was really good. And then we went on to the two co-main events then. So the first one was Rose Namajunas, who's the champ, against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Now, Jędrzejczyk was a Polish fighter who was the champ, but she sort of let everything. She was trying to be humble, but everything just seemed to go to her head, and everyone was like, she's not humble. And she was saying she was going to destroy Rose, and Rose beat her for the title. And she knocked her out in the first round, I think it was, last time. So it was a really just came there from nowhere. She's a Thai and kickboxer, Rose. But this time it went the full 5 rounds. It was a really good fight. Joanna looked a bit nervous. She got caught a few times, but she did give as good as she got. But Rose she just had more. You could just tell in the striking. Now, Joanna was always the sort of blueprint for women's boxing, especially volume of punches and kicks. She was unheard of, but Rose just had a number, range, everything. You could tell the difference that she was a more technical fighter. And it went the full thing. I mean, Joanna's kicking off saying, like, there's no way that she threw more punches and landed more, but she didn't. More actual meaningful punches landed from Rose. And Rose, I don't know, nobody I know said that she won it, and Rose won it quite rightly. So that was a good fight. That was a 49-46 on all the judges. So, yeah, good fight. Then we go on to the main event as well, the other co-main event. That was this Khabib I was telling you about, Nurmagomedov against Al Iaquinta. Now, Khabib just basically comes in, lets his opponent shoot for a punch, ducks, wrestles, gets him down. Ducks, wrestles, get him down. Continue. That's all he does. And then eventually either submits him or he TKOs him on the floor. Well, this time we had 2 rounds of exactly what we thought. Iaquinta's very good, black belt in jiu-jitsu, but the wrestling of this guy is just Olympic standard. He can beat heavyweights wrestling. He's just unbelievable. And they both fought 155, which is Conor's, obviously, division. But he went to 5 rounds. Al Iaquinta sort of started getting back in from the 3rd round. Khabib just started sort of boxing, but as a lot of them said, he has his chin high up. So because he's got his chin high up and he's moving back all the time, someone like Conor or even Tony Ferguson, who he should have fought, they'll have a field day with that. As long as they can keep him at range with the wrestling. There's a lot of things exposed. Now he's 25-0 now, so he's not bad, and his wrestling's on point. But if Conor can weather the storm and get him up, it'll knock him out. I think, I really do. His head's too big as well, so I think he's got a great opportunity. But yeah, it was a good event. Other than the main event shit show that we got with the maybe 3 or 4 changes towards the day before, trying to find an opponent. It was a great event, and I really enjoyed it. So I'll give that a solid 8 out of 10. There's a couple of events coming up, but nothing too crazy. There's usually a couple of fight nights follow one of these big, like this is UFC 223. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. I know the Ultimate Fight is due on soon, which I've said before is the heavyweight champ Stipe Miocic against the light heavyweight champ Daniel Cormier. So that's coming up. I think it's July, but I think the show will start airing in May, which is good because they're filming it now. They've probably already filmed it, so we'll see how that one goes. That's it for the UFC, really. Nothing else to report. Still on the old podcast. Get on there. The Fighter and the Kid. Brendan Schaub's Below the Belt. Brendan Schaub's got his own YouTube show now, Below the Belt, which is really good. Interviewing a lot of boxing, UFC, a little bit of WWE, but you can tell he's not knowledgeable on WWE anymore, but he's trying. But yeah, UFC and boxing, he's got because he works for Showtime, he did the Mayweather stuff. He's got a job off them now since going on their boxing stuff for that fight. Yeah, just want to talk about the football, actually, before we go. United v City. Now, I'll be honest with you, fucking 2-0 down against City at the Council House. They're taking names. It should have been 4 or 5. Raheem Sterling, thankfully, started finishing like he did when he was at Liverpool and just missing all sorts of chances. I mean, we should have been at least 5 down at half-time. I'm not even going to lie. I'm not even going to try and justify how we played. We were rubbish. City were a miles better team, and I thought at 2-0, everyone in my house was just absolutely dumbfounded. There was about 12 of us watching the game, and we couldn't believe what we were seeing. It was just terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And I'm thinking, we're going to get beat here 4 or 5. I've not seen a game like that for United for a long time to play that bad. It just, nothing works. I mean, Chris Smalling and Bailly, and I like Bailly a lot. I don't know whether Smalling was dragging Bailly or Bailly dragging, I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't their best half for United at all. It was absolutely awful. And City quite rightly went in 2-0. But the second half, oh my God. I mean, we come out, first 5 minutes, City are on us again, a lot of possession. I don't know what happened. I mean, tonight City are playing the Scousers, and I just can't see any way. I think Klopp, to be fair to Liverpool, he's got their number. He's got the blueprint for how to play against City. That's not to be afraid and pressure. And what's been shown over the last few games is exactly like last season. You had this last season with City where you could just go at them and attack them and don't be afraid. And everyone seems to be afraid. And we've done it. We did it at Old Trafford. It was a terrible result. But second half, I mean, Pogba had one of the worst games I've seen. And literally before he got the goal, I was saying to everyone, and I never say it about Pogba and that, because I always think he's a great player on his day. And I was like, got to sell him. He's fucking rubbish, sell him. And, from there, 2-1, I think, all right, fair enough. City was still attacking. We rode our luck. 2-2. Unbelievable. I'm thinking, right, let's not fucking lose this. He was all set up for the old Aguero bit again. He was coming on. I'm thinking, oh, here we fucking go. And then from nowhere, Mike Smalling steps up, and he was playing absolutely terrible. And the goal he scored, and I'd said this at the time, I don't know if anyone remembers this, United or City fan, was the Charity Shield in 2012. We played City at Wembley, and we went 2-0 down. It was De Gea's first game for United. Dzeko scored. I think Lescott scored first, and then Dzeko got this real bad long ranger on De Gea, and it basically fucked him up, De Gea up in his first game, and so that's why he was nervous for the first few matches for United. Well, we come back 3-2, we won. And that goal from Smalling was very much like the goal he scored in that Charity Shield, straight over the top. I think it was Nani who put it over the top, and he finished it exactly the same. It was an absolute mirror image finish of that goal. So he makes it 3-2 then. Smalling, we were going mental. Absolutely mental. But a bit divided in our house, because I actually thought that it was a penalty, Aguero's. I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't. I genuinely did. I thought it was a penalty. I genuinely thought that he fouled him. And my brother and that were all saying, no, he got the ball. And he did get the ball, but he followed through. And I'm sure if it was United, I'd be exactly the same. I'd be absolutely saying it was a penalty. So it's a penalty. Am I bothered? I'm a fuck. Was I happy? You're damn right. Could it happen to a better team? Of course it could, because it happened to City. And all the bullshit about they were going to take us over, win the league against us. We did it to them in 2007. I'm so happy. Then I had some fucking idiot City fans giving me stick on Facebook and that, saying United fans are this, I think it's FA Cup. And no, the difference is if we'd have been beaten, if we'd have beat you or tried to, you'd be exactly the same. It's just a case of you're the better team this year, whether I like it or not. Unless he's the biggest collapse we've ever seen, then you've got the title. So what? It's just a nice thing to put a reminder to him of who the biggest team in Manchester is. You might be the best team in Manchester this year, but you'll never be the biggest. And just remember that. And don't care what anybody says, give me abuse on that. That's just the fucking truth. So we'll see on that. I mean, I was thinking of getting Bibby on, obviously, from We Love Bibinho. I went on his podcast and that from the PES universe. But I didn't think it'd be a nice thing. At the last minute, I was going to message him and I thought, no, I don't think he's going to want to speak to me after that result. He might have done if they beat us, but hey ho, they'll win again, I'm sure, because there's no way they're not going to, even if they don't beat Tottenham. I think now the good thing is it's 2 more games they've got to win. They can't win it in the next game at Wembley, which is brilliant. So I'm so happy about that. So yeah, so United there, we're playing West Brom this weekend. We're going to that Old Trafford 4 o'clock kickoff. And then we've got the FA Cup the week after against Spurs. And I actually think, because Spurs absolutely hammered us at Wembley in the league, it was embarrassing how good they were. I actually think United got a chance now. I think United are just coming into the form. No, Harry Kane's come back, but I just got a feeling we've got a chance to do them now. I wasn't confident when the draw come on, but after seeing what we've just done to them, and it won't be a home game for Spurs. There'll be, as many United, probably more United fans than Tottenham. I was contemplating going, but we'll see on that. I'm not too sure. But yeah, so happy with that this weekend. Just more to save the embarrassment and the fact that I would have been turning my phone and everything else off for a few days. And I certainly will listen to Talk Sport. They fucking hate United as it is, so I won't be listening to them idiots. Also, one last thing. A bit of respect as well to Ray Wilkins, ex-United. Remember his curler. Remember his curl in the 83 final against Brighton. I think that was in the first game. I think Robbo scored and that. But yeah, top guy. I always liked him on Talk Sport. Always talks sense. And yeah, so sad RIP Ray. Brad's saying that we won't do nothing. I'm pretty sure that we're 4 points clear of you scumbags, and we've got another game in hand. So I'm quite happy with that second place. Brad was sending me all sorts of abuse, saying, we'll keep second place warm for you. But I mean, Everton kept them at bay, and Everton should have won it at the end. It was a terrible game that Liverpool won. So yeah, so that's it. So we're second. Liverpool are not. Liverpool are going to win tonight. I think it'll be 3-1 to City, but Liverpool will win. And then all that'll happen then is Ronnie's coming to town to Anfield and he's taking fucking names. Have you got anything to add on that, Brad, before I close the podcast out, my good friend? Not hearing anything. I'm not seeing any typing. Sure, there'll be some abuse. I'd be dying to type now. Like I say, it's been another one, episode 42. He's still saying 5. Now, I'm pretty sure it's 7:45 that you're playing. I'm not sure what the 5 reference is. Just want to thank everyone again for listening to the podcast. This has been episode 42. Get on the Inside Xbox tonight with the Xbox compatibility. I probably won't be on, but get on Brad's stream, I think he's going to do, or Brad's social media, which is Masonic Gamer, or on Mixer here, as you can see in the chat, Brad MG, or find him on Xbox getting killed more times than I do on PUBG. This has been the Contextual Podcast. Contact me at the Contextual Pod 1 or email at contextualpodcast@gmail.com. Another shameless plug before I go on my other podcast, the Comics in Motion, with my good friend Mr. Dave Horrocks. This week we've reviewed Generation X, which is absolutely the worst film I've ever seen, even beats the Nick Fury one we reviewed a few weeks ago with the Hoff. We're contactable on Comics in Motion Podcast at gmail.com, on Twitter at Comics in Motion P, and just come on, give us a follow or iTunes, look for Comics in Motion, and you'll see now we're on episode 8. We've got 9 and 10 are slightly different, so they're coming up in the next couple of weeks, and that's it really. So take care. We don't know where Steve-O is. We've got more chance of finding Wally, and that's been it. I'm hoping to get Brad on soon. The Pez guys will be on soon. See ya.